What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to explore with you guys this album, basically simply Deicide. It's the first album of the American band, super band. I'm not gonna put any labels on this amazing five people because it's simply Deicide. Some of you might call it death metal, death black thrash. I will call it simply Deicide with no labeling whatsoever. The reason why I'm saying that is just because if you listen to this album, which is the first full length, you will then understand what I'm talking about. 33 minutes of pure outrageousness, if that's a word. Sacrificial suicide, lunatic of God creation, and all those pearls that make this album something completely outstanding. Released in 1990 on the 25th of June. I can't believe that 33 years have gone by. That's a coincidence. 33 years. I wonder why I thought about shooting this video right now. But for those of you who understand what I'm talking about, there is lots of analogies between the 33 years and the singer, and obviously the figure of Jesus Christ. It's a massive, outright, how can I say, attempt to disintegrate all those biblical values, and those screams, those riffs, those beats of the drums by Steve Asham blows your mind. It blows completely your mind. Obviously, going back to when I listened to it the first time, I was already into black metal. I knew, obviously, very well death metal, but Deicide were something that was missing in my discography. When I finally purchased this album, which is the first one, which is eponymous or self-titled, I fell in love straight away. I knew already Serpents of the Light, and that's another album that we need to discover together another day, which is definitely my favorite. However, it's probably my favorite because I've got the emotional attachment to it, because that was the first album I ever listened by Deicide. But then when I purchased this one, my interest towards this band became even bigger, and I started to love it straight away. Listening track by track, being in my room by myself, and discovering how far back in the 90s, actually back in 1990, they were able to go and delight all those outliers like me. But back in the days, I was a little bit too young. Obviously, 10 years after Deicide was released, I purchased that massive, mastodontic record, and I have been enjoying it ever since. It's a nice form. So how can I put it? It's a nice combination between death metal and black metal, I would say. Although I didn't want to put any labels, but here it comes. Sometimes those labels are a little bit inevitable. Screams, obviously the voice sometimes is a little bit changed by some synthesizers or something, but it doesn't really matter. It makes everything even more evil, more abrasive, and it delights us all when it comes to the lyrics, which spouse completely with that violent sound that is reproduced in either a CD or a vinyl back in the days. Obviously, I think the first time that they released it, they still used to sell vinyls, but CDs were starting to be a little bit more popular. Therefore, when I purchased it, which was 10 years after it was released, I purchased a CD. A great, massive record by this American band, which was formed by the two brothers, Brian and Eric Hoffman. Obviously, Glen Benton, the iconic, famous also for having marked on his forehead the inverted cross. What a legend. Then Steve Ashim was at the drums, and Glen Benton was the bass guitarist and the growler, screamer or singer, to put it simple. He has been revered by many death metal bands, black metal bands, many bands who were named after this album's songs. Bands like Sacrificial, Suicides, or Deicide is another song, but Mephistopheles, I think, another great song, or Blasphemous, stuff like that. And you must have seen lots of bands who were named after all these songs. For those of you who are in love with this genre, obviously this is what starts everything, and to some extent generates lots of critiques, of course. They were there to provoke all those narrow-minded people who back in the days used to think that these guys were possessed. And obviously in America, religion and Catholicism and Christianity in general was such a big thing. And when they came out, they were stigmatized by all those cults people. And they obviously loved it because that's what made them famous as well. It's all same old story. The recipe of the parents hate it and the guys, the kids, love it. That's what is never going to change. And they struck a chord completely with all those riffs, with all those screams, with the lyrics, which were entirely satanic. And when I listen to it, it brings me back to those memories when late 90s and early 90s, these things still used to make people be shocked about what you were wearing, what you were listening to, what you were talking about. People used to get really awkward whenever they used to see you with long hair back in the days. Lots of spiky bracelets, stuff like that. Leather jackets, lots of tight jeans, and obviously heavy metal t-shirts. This t-shirt is from back in the days. This band is something that I wanted to obviously bring up one day. I mentioned this band already when I was talking about in my video about Vile from Cannibal Corpse, because they are one of those monolithic bands that somehow had to be mentioned. And for me, they've always been on top of all those seminal band that created something that more extreme is very hard to find. And especially if we go back to the years, hearing something like that was a big deal. And it wasn't for everybody. course, this genre is for somebody who, for some reason, got into it somehow because some of their friends passed the CD or a vinyl or a cassette or whatever it was, and either you loved it or hated it. So I think I talked about this a while ago in my past few videos when I was talking about Vile by Cannibal Corpse. I was given it. I remember there was a friend of mine who really hated it, and I was intrigued by it. I was already interested to it, and for some reason I wanted to find out more about the band and the genre, and everything was just the beginning, and I started to grow my interest further and further and further, to the point that now, obviously after ages, I created a channel where I want to share with you guys my passion I've got in regards to music, especially the most extreme form of music, which is, to my opinion, this genre which I'm a devotee. I've been devoted to for such a long time. Guys, start from it. I'm recommending it to you, and you know, whenever I say something about some records, I always suggest you. I know what I'm doing, because I know that if you are into that kind of niche of people who love to be tortured by this sound, then you can't go wrong. Deicide is the latest album I'm recommending you, and let me know in the comments down below what you think about it. I'm sure you've got lots of things to say about, and I'm here waiting for you to comment, and I'll see you next time for more to come. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. I'll see you soon. Bye.